Shalom. This week's Sedra is Sedrat Yisro. In this week's Sedra, we find that the Sedra opens with Moshe Rabbeinu's father-in-law, Yisro, who himself is no slouch, coming for a visit. Moshe's father-in-law was a leader of his people. He had taken care of Moshe's wife and children while Moshe led the Jewish people out of Egyptian slavery. Yisro waited until he heard of Moshe and his people's miraculous emancipation before bringing his family back to Moshe. Upon arriving in the Jewish camp, Yisro had an opportunity to see how Moshe was leading the people, and like any good father-in-law, he had suggestions on how Moshe could do a better job. As the Sedra relates, when Moshe's father-in-law saw what he was doing to the people, he said, "What is this thing that you're doing to the people? Why do you sit by yourself while all the people stand before you from morning until evening?" Moshe responded to his father-in-law, "For the people come to me to seek God. If any of them has a case, he comes to me, and I judge between a man and his neighbor, and I make known the statutes of God and his teachings." Moshe's father-in-law said to him, "This thing that you're doing is not good. You will surely wear yourself out, both you and these people who are with you, for the matter is too heavy for you to do it alone." What exactly was so exhausting about Moshe's schedule? At face value, it seems that Moshe was standing and judging and answering questions all day long, and that was so tiring. Yet if we look at the Torah's role for a judge and a judge's actual job, we see that even a few hours of judging cases is harder than it seems. In Pirkei Avos we find that Rabbi Shimon the son of Gamliel would say the world is sustained by three things: law, truth, and peace. In solving the inherent contradiction between establishing truth and creating peace between people, Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha is quoted in the Talmud as having said, "It is a mitzvah to seek compromise. As it is written, truth and peace and judgment and peaceful judgment should you judge in your gates." It would seem that where there is judgment, there can be no peace. And where there is peace, there is no judgment. What is the judgment that incorporates peace? It is compromise. In this Mishnah, the Rambam codifies instructions to the judge. In his Mishnah Torah, he wrote, "At the outset, it is a mitzvah for the judge to ask the litigants, do you desire a judgment or a compromise? If they desire a compromise is negotiated. Any court that continuously negotiates a compromise is praiseworthy." Concerning this approach, the verse in Zechariah stated, "Adjudicate a judgment of peace in your gates." Which judgment involves peace? A compromise. Similarly, with regard to King David, it is stated, "And David carried out justice and charity for his entire people." When does justice involve charity? When it results in a compromise. Yisro saw that as a judge, Moshe constantly tried to create compromise between the litigants, as was his duty. Counseling people to reach a compromise is an exhausting enterprise. Yisro was worried that in trying to create peace while holding on to the value of truth, Moshe would absolutely wear himself out and wear the people out. And for that reason, he suggested that Moshe create a different system. It's a telling lesson for all of us, and the strive for truth and the strive for peace, and both of them can be reached, but it requires a tremendous amount of effort. Shabbat Shalom.